Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show on iHeartRadio, powered by Podbean. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can download it from the iHeartRadio app, podbean.com, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. It's the last weekend of February, and guess what? It's my second favorite month of the sports year. And that's going to be here in less than 48 hours. And I'm talking March, as in March Madness. But that's not what we're talking about today. I have to behave on this show because my producer will be joining me. She was once an assistant to the MeanGene Show, and now she pretty much has taken over full control of what happens here on this show. And as much as I would love to take credit for the success of this program, believe me, I just do the talking. You wouldn't believe what goes on behind the scenes, the phone calls, the rejections, the waiting on people to call you back from professional athletes, PR people. She can tell you all about this stuff because she deals with this all the time. Without any further delay, let me please introduce the producer of the MeanGene Show, RaeLee Caddenhead. We struggled with finding the time to actually get this interview in.
We did, but there's always time to squeeze in some sports talk.
Absolutely. I haven't seen you since early in the month, early February, because we hooked up at NRG Park where there were like tons of professional athletes there, and we're talking about a whole bunch.
A whole bunch. So the company that put it on was TriStar Production, and these guys kind of work hands-on with a lot of events that go on in the sports world, and they were having an autograph signing with anybody and everybody you could think of, baseball, basketball, football, and we had Hall of Famers, and we had newcomers fresh out of college. It was just a grand time for everybody.
So, and believe, oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. So we get at this event here, and soon as we go up to the door, because we're completely lost, right? We're trying to find the will call to pick up our press passes, and this guy cuts in front of us, and I said, I think that's Tony Dorsett, RaeLee. RaeLee says, how do you know this? If we just started talking like we knew each other, you remember what you asked me?
I thought you guys were friends. I was like, y'all know each other?
I said, I've never met Tony Dorsett in my life, but when I say I know them from watching them on TV, from when I was a kid, right? And just reading about them and following them. But I do this all the time. And I always start off by saying, hey, it's good to see you. And he looked at me like, it's good to see you too. It was. So we get in there, we have a good time. We have a good time at this event, and we talked to quite a few people. And I tell you what, so many great interviews, and some of those interviews will be coming up in future podcasts because, man, we just can't give everything away, RaeLee. That's just one thing that we can't do.
We got to save some stuff for people to look forward to.
Absolutely. But so I go away because this was like a 2-3 day event, and I leave on Saturday, but on Sunday, let me tell you about my producer. She has the equipment, and I'm like, okay, she's going to go out there. I'm like, RaeLee, yeah, this is what you do. You turn this, you hit this button, you hit the. So she goes out there, and oh my goodness, who did you run into Sunday that is very well known?
He's a little well known all over the area.
I think he is too.
I got to run into Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell.
Jeff Bagwell. RaeLee, I have to tell you, many shows ago, one of my former co-hosts, he passed away 2016, Rod Johnson, and another former co-host of mine, Daryl Jordan, we used to have arguments on the show about Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell. And at the time, neither one of them were in the Hall of Fame. And we would talk about their numbers. We would talk about this, that, and the other. And we would just have arguments right there on the air. Are they a Hall of Famer? And at that time, this was, I don't know, maybe 2007, 8, 9. We have a soundbite from that, a very interesting soundbite. So we're going to play that soundbite, and then we're going to come back and we're going to comment on that soundbite. So here's the interview with Hall of Famer, former Houston Astros, Jeff Bagwell, and RaeLee.
It's a tough question. It's a tough question to field, and I don't know the answers to it. All I know is that those two guys, when I played, were the best at what they did. You talk about Barry. Barry was one of them guys that could do anything he wanted on the field. And Roger, name a better pitcher in the history of the game than Roger. So it's hard. I understand how it all works. It's I would say politics. Sometimes it's not politics. There's other circumstances that go into it. It's a tough thing, and It's something I don't have the answer for. I mean, it is what it is. Craig and I have been through it in 94, 95. It's just part of business. I learned at an early age when I got traded from the Red Sox that this is a business, and this is what we're dealing with now.
What was the proudest moment of your career, and what was the time that you finally realized all your hard work had paid off?
I don't know what the proudest moment in my career is. I think the biggest thing for a player is making it to the major leagues, and then then to stay in the big leagues and to be able to play 15 years with one team. I think that makes me proud. It makes it special being with the Astros this long.
Well, there you have it. From Mr. Jeff Bagwell himself, Astros for 14 years and Hall of Famer.
Wow. Great stuff from Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell. His comments on Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, he feels that those guys should be in the Hall of Fame. I've talked about this with other baseball writers, and one day those guys will be in the Hall of Fame. But RaeLee, good stuff. Way to go. What did you think about his response?
I appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you first off, I remember going to games, I think I was 8, and going to Astros games, and that was the first, major league game I had ever been to. And, all I can remember about it is hearing them say Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio, and Lance Berkman.
The Killer Bees.
The Killer Bees on the Jumbotron, and then eating some nachos, and, I bought a pink baseball bat. That's all I remember. But I remember those names, and those guys have come so far. And to hear his humble answer, it's just so cool because there's so many talented people in this world. And a lot of those kids come out of school, and it is so hard to get into that, let alone stay in it for as long as Bagwell did. And that's just really inspiring. And, to anybody out there that, wanting to go into baseball or anything, just he's a good guy to look at and to follow behind his footsteps, and working real hard just to try to make those dreams come true.
So I spent time with you there on that Saturday, and that Sunday, I'm in Vegas at the Pro Bowl, and you just showed out. How did you get Jeff Bagwell? Well, I shouldn't ask you. You are the producer of the show.
Well, I'll tell you what, there were so many people coming in and out, so many athletes, and we kind of just had to jump on it as quick as we could to grab anybody we can, try to get their attention, because these guys, were signing autographs for all their fans, and was humble in the moment and really wanted to express his love for all the fans, and then, the media too, and, anybody that wanted to talk to him, which that was very cool. But, you definitely had to jump in there to get a response and to get a question, which, at the end of the day, it was very, very cool to hear his responses.
That was great. Almost like what Warren Moon was like the day before, remember, because I noticed that the hometown guys just felt something. They just felt they needed to give something back to the fans, right? Because you don't see these guys on TV every day like you did back in the day.
That's
true. I totally get that. Great stuff. RaeLee, I tell you what, I know, like I said, here we are doing the show on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening because your schedule is so busy. I want to talk about some of the things, the upcoming event. We just mentioned we're 48 hours away from the month of March. We got the Big 12 tournament that's coming up, and I know you've made some headways with the Big 12 organization, and we're looking forward to that. We also have the NC2A tournament. So you got the big, we just did the show on prepping everyone for March Madness, and I think it was the top 25 or whatever. We just getting people ready for the conference tournaments, and we got Big 12 as part of those conference tournaments that we just did a show on a couple of days ago. So, but we just happen to be in the SEC and Big 12 country, so that's why we mentioned that. And then we have the NC2A tournament, which I think we're going to be, there's a Sweet 16 region in San Antonio that we might be covering. RaeLee, we got a trip to New York coming up to promote the MeanGene Show.
I'm looking forward to it. That sounds like a great time. Any time in New York is a great time.
Most of the listeners of the MeanGene Show, a lot of them come from the West Coast, Texas, the West Coast area. So a lot from the East, but the New York area is an area that we need to tap into. So that's going to be interesting. And then the MeanGene Show on Odyssey, which is, we just released that announcement a couple of days ago. So that's exciting because, we're trying to increase our listeners. Odyssey is going to give us a lot of listeners on the East Coast as well, but Odyssey used to be CBS Radio. RaeLee, I know this is your favorite, the NFL draft, right?
Oh, yeah. I know everybody's had their eyes on that for some time. We got the chance to get a first look, all access with some of these guys, and we're looking forward to giving some sneak peeks to that for everybody.
Ooh, yeah, because, the NFL draft is going to be in Vegas, all right, and I know we're working on a new casino out there to host the NFL draft from, so more details coming on that. Part of that weekend that me and RaeLee spent at NRG Stadium, I know you had a chance to talk with a future NFL draft pick that's coming up, and that was Texas A&M defensive lineman DeMarvin Leal.
That was one of the fun stories I had for the day because, like I said, all these guys were real busy. They were on a time crunch. DeMarvin walked out with his family, had to get some autographs, and he started walking back. And I was able to get an exclusive interview with him. And I said, "Would you do an interview with a fellow Aggie?" And he asked the assistant. He said, "Can I do this one real quick?" And that made me feel so good to come from that Aggie background because. There's just something about it, and but I'm excited for everybody to hear a sneak peek of that. And in fact, he's looking to be one of the top picks.
As a matter of fact, RaeLee, and there's a lot of mock drafts that are out there. There's going to be like a gazillion of them between now and the NFL draft. And because, we have a connection with this team, the Las Vegas Raiders are really looking at him.
That's amazing. Yeah, anybody, like I said, he's got a real good following behind him. In fact, in the Dallas Morning News, they quoted that in 3 years as a starter, he recorded 133 tackles, 25 tackles for loss, and 13 sacks. 8.5 of which came from last season's team-leading effort. So this guy is just a power train, just waiting to get in, get his foot in the door. And he was so bright-eyed and eager that day, and he's definitely going to be one to look out for.
Believe me, that interview is coming up, folks. And as we get closer to the NFL draft, we cannot wait to share that interview. And I tell you, RaeLee was out doing it. Wait a minute, he wasn't the only Aggie you talked to.
Appreciate it. Well, yeah. In fact, all you Aggies out there, I got to talk to the one and the only Mr. Football. And I tell you what, all my years of school there, I'd heard all the stories. Oh my gosh, Johnny Manziel's coming back to school, or, all of the football stories. Same thing with him. I got an exclusive interview with him. It was about being an Aggie, and he just wanted to do an interview with the fellow Aggie, and such a nice guy. That was definitely a legend one to talk to. That was pretty cool for all the Aggies listening out there right now.
See, that's got to be cool because I went to the University of Phoenix for journalism. I don't have anybody I can go back there and talk to like you do. That is awesome, and it was just so easy for you to get these interviews. It was just unbelievable, and this is why RaeLee is the producer of the show, because she says, "Well, Gene, you go on to Vegas. I got this." And it was just amazing. But anyway, just great stuff. But anyway, folks, I tell you what, stay tuned for more from RaeLee, of course. And we will have another podcast coming up soon, including one with my youngest son, Justin Alexander Thompson. He's going to talk about what's going on with Major League Baseball. My son follows and knows Major League Baseball very, very well. And we've talked about having him on the show, and I can't wait. RaeLee, I want to thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you for having me, and we've got a good team together, and we're producing some great sound bites for everybody in 2022.
Thank you. I truly appreciate you, and everyone else out there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your upcoming week. This is the MeanGene Show on iHeartRadio, powered by Podbean.